Thanks so much, Jim Clancy. And something for us to discuss now with Representative Ed Royce. He's a Republican from California, also the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. He's held hearings on the Korean issue. Mr. Chairman, let me start out with the news this morning, really the breaking news this morning, that North Korea has asked the Russian embassy in Pyongyang to consider evacuating its embassy staff. What's your view of this? What's going on here?
Well, I think they've done the same thing with the British embassy, and I think it's to try to get the news out that they're potentially going to create a hostile act. But in the past, this has worked for North Korea. The basic strategy has been to create threats and then try to get aid from the West. And I think that that's one of the strategies, unfortunately, that has got us to this point, because the ability to get hard currency into that regime is what's allowed it to pay for its missile program and its very expensive program to develop a nuclear weapon. And at this point, I think we should rethink our strategy that we've had since 1994, because it hasn't worked for us. During those intervening years, it's only allowed the North to develop its nuclear capability. We should instead be thinking right now about how we could cut off the flow of hard currency into the regime so that it can't pay for further expansions of its weapons program.
Well, let's talk in the very near term. That's obviously a change of long-term strategy for the North Korean situation. But in the very near term, you've got a missile moving to the East Coast, two missiles actually. You've got components and launch technology that is clearly moving to the East Coast of the country. North Koreans saying that they're ready for a test launch. What sort of signal does this send? I mean, every day it's a ratcheting up of developments, not a ratcheting down.
It means that they want something from the West. I've been in North Korea. I've been on the East Coast of North Korea. The basic program for the North that has worked well to extract aid from South Korea, to extract aid from the U.S., has been to do provocative acts and then to try to get us to the table in exchange for giving them something they want. I think what's really changed inside the North is the percentage of the population that is opposed to this new regime and to the squalor that they live in. And you can see that in the interviews with those who exit the country now, who flee the country. Such a large percentage of them are really rankled at the mismanagement in the North. I think we feed into that if we give aid to North Korea. And so my suggestion again is that instead of repeating the old pattern and rewarding him for bad behavior, which is the same thing we did with his father and grandfather, that the international community now cut off the international banking system to North Korea so that the regime collapses and we can, or such pressure is put on it that the generals decide they don't like not getting paid. We did this before in 2005 when we caught them counterfeiting $100 U.S. bills. And it really brought that regime to its knees, and I think that's what needs to happen.
So it's clear what you'd like to see the U.S. do diplomatically. Let's talk about military actions for a second right now. What do you see the Pentagon doing, and what do you think the Pentagon should be doing in reaction to this North Korean threat?
What the Pentagon is doing is moving its ballistic missile defense interceptors to the West Coast. You see Alaska and California being beefed up in terms of interceptors, and so I think the Obama administration is rather late to the game in terms of missile defense, but certainly now they're really working at it hard because they realize that some accidental tripwire could be touched here. But in all likelihood, this is the same type of bluster we have seen repeatedly from North Korea. I've followed these conversations for years, since 1994, and the type of rhetoric is not unlike what we see rather routinely. They do very provocative acts. The sinking of the South Korean warship with the North Korean torpedo, of course, was very provocative. The shelling of the island in South Korea. So we might see some additional activity like that. But it's all predicated upon getting what they want in the North, which is a package of more support.
We'll see if we wake up one morning soon and there is not a ratcheting up of the rhetoric going on, because it has been every morning lately. Congressman Ed Royce, chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.